Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Books, Gurrs, and Purrs. Today I'm going to be talking about my December wrap-up, all the books that I read in the month of December 2022. I'm a little bit behind. I haven't had the chance to take the notes that I wanted, so hopefully I can stay on track. I'm actually right in the middle of reading my first January read, which is Sabrina and Corina. I'm right at the end of that. I'm loving that. And I'm staring at the stack of books that I've already read and telling myself I just need to get to do this. All right. So the first book that I read for the month of December was The Vampire Armand. And throughout the entire month, I kept putting it down, picking it back up, putting it down. And I kind of finished it early January, so it took me a while. It's a book that I think is too long. The book, The Vampire Armand, is from the Vampire Chronicles, so if you watched the television show or read the book, Interview with the Vampire, it's just a character from that world. And so the Vampire Armand has been in the books of the Chronicles minimally, and so he basically gets his own like biography. And the book is written by the fictional character David Talbot. So a majority of the book takes place in the past. The Vampire Armand is a very old vampire, and I don't know where to start because I actually didn't like it. This is a reread for me. Interview with the Vampire was a one book that I still hold a lot of love for, even though now as an adult I have critiques because I read this series in like my teenage years. Now that I'm reading The Vampire Armand again, there's just so much that went over my head, or maybe I just don't remember. Maybe the first time I read it I understood just fine, but this is a book that isn't really horror so much as it is an erotic fantasy. I don't have a problem with that. It's just, I just feel like the author took such a tonal shift over time that sometimes I feel like she's getting away from what I had initially liked in the first place. And so something that I've realized during 2022 from September till now, as I've read, I should say read and also reread some of Anne Rice's books, is I don't like the character. Oh, David Talbot. It's not Daniel. David Talbot. He is a character that's from the Telemasca. He also just reports and becomes a journalist. And in several books, he is the person writing he acts as Anne Rice, right? He's writing everyone's story. And I just realized in this particular book how much I dislike his character and how he's a perv. He's just said some things in this book that I just don't remember reading the first time, and I was kind of shocked that this character or any character will say what he said. And it was really early on. And this book confirmed why I disliked him so much when I read the book Merrick. Specifically Merrick. Also Blackwood Farm. I can't really remember if he was in that. But yeah, specifically Merrick. I didn't like him. I didn't like who he was. I don't like how he fetishized Merrick. And I felt like he was doing the same thing in The Vampire Armand. His character doesn't take a lot of time in the book, just at the beginning and towards the end. But I just had a distaste for his character so much. And also, The Vampire Armand in previous iterations has been this not a good person, but I felt like it made sense because there were horror novels that this person is not meant to be a good person, and I feel like what the author is doing here is almost trying to like rectify who the Vampire Armand is, and I didn't like that either. Yeah, so that's how I felt about the Vampire Armand. I didn't like it. It was very long. It took me quite a long time to even get into the book. And at some point I just like really forced myself to read it because I wanted to get through it. Maybe in a way to get insight on what might happen in season 2 of Interview the Vampire. But I'm just throwing that idea away because I just liked this book so much. Anyways, I'll stop talking about that one. That was a library read, so I don't have the physical copy. Where do I start? I'll talk about a book I did like. I read You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Ekweke Emezi. I absolutely love this book. It's a romance. Where do I start? The main character, Faye, is mourning the death of her husband. He passed away for quite a few years. We don't really get a huge insight into their relationship. We just know that Faye loved him and is just mourning the death of her loved one. And she exercises her mourning by throwing herself entirely into hedonism, and in doing so she's not really letting herself connect with anyone, right? She's a bit closed off, and not really coping with that mourning, right? She meets someone that in a way sweeps her off her feet, and I think she's just enjoying the intention rather than having mutual feelings for this person, right? Alright, I'm sorry, I had to reset because my cat keeps knocking into my tripod because she wants my attention, but then she doesn't want me to pick her up, so I don't know what to do. The character Faye goes on vacation with Nasir, who is someone that, again, she's just enjoying their company, but she doesn't necessarily feel the same way. And so when she goes on this vacation, she starts having feelings for someone else in Nasir's orbit. And so this complicates things because the person that she has feelings for has a public persona. It complicates things in their personal life, in Faye's personal life. And so what Faye has to navigate is she willing to open her heart again? And to do so, is she fine with someone else blowing up their life to make just a potential relationship happen? And so that's what the book explores. What I really love about Emezi's writing is how they write these messy characters. I do think in some ways when I'm reading from Faye's perspective, I don't think she's being completely honest with herself by the end of it. And I don't want to say more than that. I'm just trying to not give away the story. But I thought it was a beautiful meditation on mourning, right? Because through her character falling for someone else, I think she's also allowing herself to mourn her husband that passed away. And I thought that was really beautiful. For instance, on page 94, Faye says, this mountain, this man she's literally just met, they were turning her into a woman who wanted so loudly that it was drowning out the logic of a choice. And that terrified Faye. That felt dangerous, fast, and menacing. I like how the author taps into how being vulnerable can feel dangerous. You know, the unknown is scary. And so, yeah, I really love this book. I've definitely seen some criticism. I just couldn't help myself through Instagram. And if you go fishing around, I felt like all the criticisms were valid, but I still love this book. I also reread Kindred. I read this maybe back in 2013 or 2014, so it's been a while. The first time I read this book, I think I had a lot of frustration for the main character, and rereading this book again, I didn't feel as frustrated. There were definitely some frustrations, but somehow I felt more in tune with what Dana was navigating, if that makes any sense. So the book Kindred takes place in the 1970s. It's been adapted into a television show. I think it's on Hulu. Okay, so Dana's from the 1970s. That's like the present time. And early on in the story, she meets her husband, or who's going to be her husband. We kind of learn that she's married to a white man. She's like in her mid-20s, and her husband is somewhat older than her. And they do jump around a lot in this book in terms of time. I will say that they both come to realize there are members on both sides of their family that are not happy about their marriage. On Dana's side of the family, there are some family members that feel like her marrying a white man makes her family feel like she's rejecting them. And on her husband's side, Kevin, there's some family members that are racist and don't want anything to do with Kevin and Dana because they're in an interracial relationship. And so they're both dealing with those feelings. Kevin, for instance, has some, I don't know, his dialogue sparks some great conversations, right? In particular, his sister. His sister doesn't want anything to do with him and Dana. So then he reflects on his relationship, or maybe him not seeing like what he thinks are the signs, or maybe like his preconceived notions of what like a racist is versus like the reality of what that looks like in present day. And so what happens with Dana in the present day is that she gets pulled simultaneously, there's no rhyme or reason, to the antebellum South. And she doesn't know why. It just starts happening, and it occurs with greater frequency. And every time she goes to the past, she stays in the past for a longer time. And there's definitely conversations, for instance, that Dana has about how easy it is to adapt and accept what's going on at that time. I think this is also a commentary through Dana that allows a reader, or anyone in present day, that may look at the past and think, oh, why didn't people at that time do A, B, and C? Why didn't they just take themselves out of the situation? And through Dana's character, you just see how impossible that is, and how the institution of slavery at that time just permeates life. What are the dynamics personally? Something that still bothered me about Dana in this book is that there's a slave owner, and other people of that time are making it really clear what this person is capable of, but Dana almost like refuses to believe what they're saying. She keeps thinking that this person that she knows personally wouldn't do the things, like the monstrous things that he goes on to do. And so sometimes that's what's frustrating. And I feel like what the author is navigating is just trying to show that acts are so monstrous because the people that are doing it are human beings, right? And human beings don't seem monstrous, but they're capable of anything. And I think that's what I feel is so frustrating with Dana at times, is just, yeah, that mind block that she has. It's not like she's seeing the actions play out and thinking to herself, I cannot believe this person is doing this. She has people that have experienced the torture, the terrible acts. And so she has not just witnesses, but like victims of the abuse, and she's still not believing it. And that's a part that was like frustrating for me. I hope I'm making sense, because I'm trying to also be vague in case anyone out there hasn't read the book. Ever since the show came out, I feel like more people are reading the book. I think I'm gonna have a separate video discussing this book more in depth, of all the parts that I really enjoyed, because I think if I discuss it, I'm just gonna spoil the book. But there are definitely some literal actions that are wrapped up symbolically by the end that I thought were really well crafted. And so that's all I'll say about that, because I don't want to ruin the experience for anyone. This is definitely a book that I think over the years I'm going to go back several times and reread and just try to focus on the nuances that I missed, because Octavia Butler is just that great of a writer, where you kind of go back and reflect on as a person as you grow, and just realize that, oh yeah, I missed this and this because I just wasn't getting it. Like, I had so much more to learn. Anyway, so that's that. And to finish this video off, the last two that I read are the comics Saga 8 and 9. I reviewed 10 a couple of months ago because I couldn't help myself, and I couldn't help but just like read it right away. So yeah, so to finish off December, I read both these volumes. You already know, if you've seen any of my videos about Saga, this is my favorite comic of all time. I really love the writing of Brian K. Vaughan and the illustrations of Fiona Staples. These two volumes continue to explore generational trauma, continuing the struggle of being a pacifist, not giving up on people that might not seem like they deserve a second chance. In fact, those characters may not even think that they deserve a second chance, but just always giving someone the benefit of a doubt. And also what it looks like when you continue to pass on violence to the next generation. I mean, I love this comic. Sometimes I find it difficult to break down each volume because there's just such a strong thematic thread throughout these, but they're always good. They're always good to pick up. And also, just because the themes are so strong, doesn't necessarily make me feel like I'm reading a story that's on repeat, or I don't read certain parts of the comic and think like, oh, well, I've already read this before. It's not that. It's just a beautiful intertwining of family. What does family look like? What are the complications with that? And how sometimes the closest people in your life are going to be absolute strangers. So yeah, I continue to love this comic. I don't know when issue 11 is going to come out, but I think this year that might be the only exception I make when it comes to buying new material. Alright everyone, that's it for my review. Thank you for sticking around. I was trying not to talk all over the place or repeat myself too much. And I guess I'll see you later.